Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Weekly Manga Recap. It is May the 17th of 2023, and you know what that means. It means that the wait is over.
Okay.
We are talking about a thing that we have been wanting to talk about for a while, and it's back and as inconvenient to read as ever.
Yeah, we do have a lot of Eden Zero to talk about today. I lived up to my promise, and I read all the chapters. I paid for them all with this stupid app. Thankfully, there was like a deal to like get stuff, so it wasn't stupidly expensive. It will eventually,
but you bought the package so that each time that you made a purchase, it put a little bit of ether towards your purchase boost, so that after you had done like 10 purchases, then the last one was like 50% cheaper or something like that.
Yeah, I got extra stamina pots, which I could use to refill so I could run against Tuesday's dungeon drops. And that gives me an extra chance to potentially get an extra point at the end of every run. So, I mean, by the end of it, I could be getting like 20 or so points. And if I do that 5 more times, that's almost a chapter.
Yeah. People paying for chapters one by one is stupid.
There's such a great game economy in there. I should note most of that was a joke I made up based off of other gacha games, but it is still. I like once I looked at that like the whatever point system, I was like, hard no, I can't be this person anymore. I've definitely played gacha games before where I was like, I can get a little drop if I watch a little ad. Well, that doesn't hurt anybody. That's just making me money. And then like I started doing the math. I was like, if I just made $1 this hour, I wouldn't have had to watch any of that garbage.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Good stuff. Anyways, we will talk about Eden Zero, but later, because it's back in the recap. I'm going to talk about the newest chapter and all the ones we missed. So I think chapter 223 and onward. But I will condense them.
Yeah.
Not because like, oh, I hope you don't leave anything out. There's not a lot to leave out. But if I go by every chapter, it's basically going to be 20 chapters in a row of being like, well, it was horny and stupid.
Yep.
Next chapter.
Much. Yeah, there are a couple notable bits here and there that definitely stand out in my memory from having just kind of honestly just like it's you know how like when you have to like cram for something, it's like like you eat the whole meal in one go. This was like when the food gets kind of like stuck in the package. So like, normally like when you're pouring it out, it's like a constant stream. But in this case, it got like kind of stuck and so you kind of have to really like shake it. And then it all just comes out very suddenly in one chunk. And
it's
so that went down.
Shaped like the package too. You're like,
Yes. So that kind of is the feeling that I have for the rate at which I read the catch up for Eden Zero. And some parts of it still do stand out to me. We'll talk about them. But Eden Zero has its place in the recap already, guys. So we're gonna have to wait. We're getting things back to how they were. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna have Eden Zero every week on Weekly Manga Recap. You're welcome, everybody. So
every week.
Well, as long as it's getting published, I guess.
Oh God. Okay. Well, that shouldn't be too much longer. Then they pretty much run through all the material for the old universe. So
we're going back to chapter 1 once we finish the series proper.
Oh yeah, we're doing Eden Zero, World Zero, Part 2. This time it's perfect.
Well, Quinn, that's actually possible. But we have other stuff to talk about as well this week, including a new manga in Jump that I nearly did not read, but we'll get into that.
Oh, what a good time.
I did read it. But let's start off with My Hero Academia. It's chapter number 388, Toya. We begin this chapter with a flashback, basically to explain how the hell Fuyumi got outside in order to come across the fight between Dabi and Endeavor. And it turns out that, there needed to be a full-on evacuation of the bunker that they were in. We see a little bit of Kendo, Big Fist, from Class 1B, helping people out. There's actually, I can't believe this, Quinn, from the Veto in the Bank contest we did last year. Those random douchey kids that were angry at Class 1A make an appearance in this
They're in
sequence.
here? Oh, is that the girl who's carrying, like, the lady, and then someone's carrying
and the big
a
guy
with
the pompadour? Yeah. So
it's
yeah, they made an appearance for this.
So we just need Backdraft to show up at some point.
Exactly.
And then everyone's here.
Actually, what the fuck? Where is Backdraft? Everything is on fire right now. He's not doing his job. Or they're not doing their job. It's very hard to tell Backdraft's gender.
Someone might have sent them to the wrong place, and they're like looking at a map, and it's like children's orphanage with like some dried plants. He's like, I guess this is what I'm here for. And he's like watering them. Meanwhile, in the background, there's just giant plumes of smoke coming up. But he since they're wearing this mask, they can't see behind themselves, Nick. It's ironic. Backdraft can't see behind themselves.
Yeah, that's what the meaning of the name was the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I don't think science ever played a part in it, Nick. Science isn't actually a thing. I think we were over this last week. Nick, last week I explained to you how math is the thing. This week, science isn't real.
It's making me upset.
Have you ever thrown a ball in the air, Nick, and it comes down too fast? That's because you wished a little too hard.
What?
I have the science knowledge of a child.
Okay.
So everything in my mind is magic.
Okay. An evacuation happens. Kendo has to tell everyone, stop fucking rubbernecking at the giant fireball. That's the thing we're trying to get away from. Stop it. But Fuyumi decides, well, there's a robot over here that's got wheels. Take me over there. And the robot gives her a thumbs up and says, we exist to serve humans' desires. I have no free will of my own.
Ninja says it's Rei. Fuyumi is the daughter.
You're right. That is correct. Yes. I got them mixed up. Sorry. They're both such distinct characters with distinct personalities.
Ninja says, now grovel for me.
No.
Okay.
So Rei gets on the robot to go off and help out Endeavor with Toya. Both of them are getting very burned. The robot, by the way, didn't make it.
We really need to touch on the fact that this robot is like, they're like, take me to the epicenter. Robot's like, okay. And then cut to the robot's hand, fucking melting away. And you're just like, no, I loved him. He was my best friend.
It's a solid Terminator reference. I also like the idea when you think of it because we fade straight from the robot giving a thumbs up saying, yes, I will take you to the dangerous place, giving the thumbs up, fade back in on the thumb still being up when they've arrived. So it was just giving her the thumbs up the entire way there.
Yeah, the entire way there. It's just like, hey, you want to put your thumb down? It's like, no, I still think you're radical. You're still bodacious.
Most heinous. So, Endeavor, of course, is telling Rei, no, you're going to die. Get the hell out of here. And Rei says, I mean, you guys are going to die too. I can't leave you here. Toya does actually react to her presence, although he's still full-on berserker burning zombie mode. So he's just going still for a monosyllabic speech going, Mom! But then he realizes that Natsu and Fuyumi have also showed up. Because, of course, they did. They followed after Rei in order to help out the situation. And Fuyumi just says, stop it. I can't bear to lose anyone else. And Natsu says, quit being such a douchebag, basically. And they all surround Toya. and are trying to get him to stop. And as Dabi stands there being a burning zombie man, he imagines a happier version of himself, where he's surrounded by a loving family and isn't about to blow everybody the hell up. He also seems to be missing arms in this imagined instance. That's what it looks like, at least.
I'm trying to think. He hasn't lost his arm though, right? All for One.
I don't think so.
Or not All for One. Endeavor.
Yeah.
Maybe he hasn't.
Maybe just
up. Maybe he's like. Maybe he's doing that cool thing where people do, where you wear the jacket, like you did. You're wearing that shirt.
I am wearing a UA shirt, yes, as it turns out.
Oh no, it was the same shirt when you had the cloak over the top of it. You looked super cool.
Okay.
I have it saved to my phone. Hold on, I can find it.
You don't need to.
Okay.
Please stop trying to convince me I'm cool.
No, it's because Molderman, I believe, made alterations to it to give you like the pompadour,
yes.
And it was so cool. I considered making it my icon for you on my phone because it was very, very, very cool. What were we talking about? Eden Zero?
This chapter is like a half-length thing. It's only 11 pages long. It goes by very quickly. It at least does establish the point of like, and everyone in the Todoroki family except Shoto is here to try and talk Dabi down. Presumably Shoto himself will show up shortly because, he's on the super fast boy right now.
Yeah. Oh, Ida is going to go so fucking fast. Nick, do you think I like Ida because I like Sonic?
I think it might be the glasses.
Oh. I do like the glasses, and he's such a nice boy.
He is a nice boy.
And Sonic's not really a nice boy. Like, he has attitude.
Kind of a dick.
Sonic has a particular... He has his own
Quinn,
way.
It's my new lyrics for the Sonic the Hedgehog theme. Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's kind of a douche.
Oh, no! Oh, wait, what if we say that one half is being written by Sonic and one half is being written from the perspective of Eggman? So it's like call and response. Like, Sonic, he runs really fast. Sonic, I hope he dies in a blast.
It's like very confusing because it's all the same singer.
Yeah, the singer doesn't
both gave
change.
them their own notes.
They just had to adjust on the fly. Okay, fun chapter. Yeah, as I said, super short, so it's hard to really say a ton. I think, Ida and Todoroki are going to show up, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yep.
Nick.
All right. Undead Unluck.
Gotta talk about Undead Unluck. This is number 158. Don't think, feel, Nick. Which I believe were also lyrics to Let It Go. Doesn't she say something like don't think?
Conceal, don't feel.
Okay.
Is what she says.
So close. There's two of the same words and
in a different order.
In a different order and not in
different rhyme scheme.
The intention they're doing here. It's just like Frozen, Nick. So after that Frozen reference, they are like, okay, everybody retreat. We got to get away from these bugs.
It's a Bruce Lee quote, Quinn. That's where it's from.
No, he had a quote about water, Nick. So
only water. He was like a Pokemon.
He just quoted water all the time. Like, Mr. Lee, how do you feel about your newest movie? He's like,
be like water.
Be like water.
So, which is ironically about being very flexible, but
he's not. He's like, you can be flexible like water that goes anywhere, or you can be like a fucking river that runs in one direction, baby. Be like water. Brandon Lee's like, yeah, it was tough growing up with my dad. He wanted
to call me be like water.
It's all he would reference. He wouldn't talk about anything else.
Hey, Dad, you want to go outside and play catch? Be like water.
What does that mean, Dad? Should I get the glove? Okay, so the bugs are there from last time, and Fuko's calling the retreat. Everybody get back, because this is super, super dangerous. Sean has grabbed Phil at this point. He's right away. He's like, what the heck? Why could they still come after me, even though I'm unseen? And someone in the back, I believe it's Phil, just says, they're after me and Mom. So Fuko just notes, okay, well, that's even more of a reason to not leave you behind then. Phil, of course, is just like, but logically, sacrificing one person to save 5 is the most logical choice.
It is logical. Captain.
But it is not human. Fuko's like, fuck that shit. It'd be too sad. So they go. Creed is like firing. Fuko manages to like just pull Creed in as like one of their mouths like, gets into the door. But it like kind of cut straight through. Like it gets cut. And she's like, wait, a door cut this thing. Like even Gina's Unchanged couldn't dent it. Mm-hmm. And like, why? What's it coming for? Like, what does it want? Like, is it dead at this point? But Fuko knows, like, oh, this is the one I get hit by my bad bullet. So this was the result of the unlock happening. Was it getting caught in the elevator, basically, or whatever? But this thing is still right where it died. It's a life form and an alien one. So Nico's like, okay, well, here's the thing. Every organism has its flaws. That lousy god has never made one perfect life form. So me and Creed, we'll find out like a way to kill it, basically. They're gonna bounce ideas off of each other. But that said, these things are definitely coming for Phil. And that last one even tried to go after him until it died, basically. So this is like a puzzle that we have to kind of figure out. And there's like some discussion going on back and forth, like between these characters. But Phil just kind of interrupts and is like, hey, Sean, what's sad? I really want to know what feelings are like.
Do you know what love is?
Pretty much. It's just like I've never been able to understand feelings, and they never properly convey to me. So I just need to like figure out like what's the saddest thing you've ever experienced. And Sean's just like, I guess when my dad died. And Phil's like, well, why was that sad? He's like, well, I guess it's because I wouldn't be able to see him anymore. And Phil just wide open eyes is just like, I see. Nico has watched this conversation before and is like, hey, has Phil's unfeel already manifested? Phil goes like, no, it shouldn't have. He wouldn't be able to talk if it did. But Sean over is just like, hey, you're worried for nothing. We're going to save you. You're in good hands with, and then he walks into a room. There's like 100 of these fucking bugs. I should say 100. They're just really big. So they're covering this shelter thing. And he's like, holy crap, there's so many of these oversized bugs. And they start getting a call on their short-range radio that's like, hey, is my child there? Is Phil safe and sound? They're like, yeah, he's right here. And she's like, you got to get away from here. Take Phil and run otherwise. And all the bugs start to, like, kind of do something. They're like, oh, my God, they're starting to react. Those things are outside the shelter. They're after you. She's like, don't worry about me. Just help Phil. Hey, Phil, can you hear me? I'm sorry. I kept you locked up here in this lonely space. And I put you in this cold body. I've been doing, you've been doing your best this whole time, but I'm just not sure anymore whether you have a heart or even feelings. And I'm a failure of a mother. So, like, if my life can help save yours, then at the very least. And at that point, everyone is kind of jumping in to interfere with these bugs, trying to get in. They're like, no, fuck that. And Phil's mom is just like, no, forget about me. They're like, nah, fuck you. Phil's trying to learn, and he's trying to understand his feelings for you. He asked what sad meant, for crying out loud, and I'll be damned if I'm going to use his mother's death to teach him the meaning of sadness. When all of a sudden, one of the bugs goes straight at Nico. He's like, whoa, why is it targeting me? Why now? Wait, could it be? And he shouts over to Phil, and he's like, thinking at this time.
Because Phil, like, tackles it away from Nico.
Yeah. He notes, it's not voices or temperature. They react to agitation. When people are emotional, they react to feelings. So Phil is just like, sadness is still somehow I just don't understand. And the biggest source of the feelings, in other words, the one who's the most riled up, is Phil. Even though he doesn't understand them, Nick, he has so many feelings.
The robot has a soul.
Uh-huh.
What do I do with all of these emotions?
Yep. So one of them is borrowed. One of the little like orb things is borrowed by Phil, and he starts like kind of trying to like fly away. He's gonna act as a decoy to get them all away. Fuko interferes. Is like, hey, if the thought of not being able to see your mom again makes you sad, then imagine how sad your mom would be if she couldn't see you. And that seems to catch Phil a little bit. They start kind of flying away, and they just note, like, hey, they detect electrical impulses stimulated by the brain due to emotional stimulation. Do you know what that means? Phil has them. He has feelings stronger than anyone's, and they're right there inside of him. And Phil ends the chapter by just going, hold on, Mom. I'm going to save you.
Yeah, it's a chapter that continues on from the stuff that was really strongly hinted at before, that Phil's got, emotions. He just can't express them because of his robotic body and not really understanding what the hell he's experiencing. And I do, appreciate this idea of like, hey, he's got like feelings the way that everyone does, but people just have the wrong initial impression about him because he's not expressing them the way that most people would. And it's also just like kind of like he's kind of immediately enduring because his body is so beat up after what he's been put through, having weird alien beetle things chewing on him. And yeah, I want him to save his fucking mom.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. I'm glad that it didn't turn out that his mom was dead already, because that would have just been a real awkward thing. Like, hey, everyone's getting a happier conclusion in this timeline. Not the 6-year-old. No.
Sorry, Phil. All right, we can't win them all. All right, so you gotta take a couple L's. All right, the big guy needs his wins. I wonder if this means that since Phil is unfeel, Phil might not get their negator powers then, or something like that. Or I wonder how they're gonna approach that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that there are abilities that, of course, manifest in different ways, so maybe it'll be the same with him. Who knows?
All right. Good chapter.
Yep. I guess we are on Spy Family next.
Spy Family.
It's Mission 80, which is actually a direct continuation of the previous chapter that we didn't really see the need to spend a whole lot of time on, because it was just about Yor getting drunk and realizing that she doesn't have a lot about Lloyd to complain about, which seems kind of weird. She wakes up still a little bit tipsy from the previous night, but she remembers the way that she behaved, and is like, oh God, what did I do? Unfortunately, Anya leaves the apartment very quickly, which is not so great. But yeah, there's like a bit where she's going out to the zoo with Becky, and there's just kind of a cute moment where she's on her way out. She says, "Come home soon, Papa," and Lloyd's like, "You're the one who's leaving, not me." So I don't know why you're saying that, but oh well.
Yeah.
Yor comes out of her bedroom, and there's this kind of like understandable, like, tension of like, oh, you were really drunk last night. How are the two of us going to address it? And so she's still focused on the whole like, oh, I've got to have a gripe about the person I'm married to. And Lloyd, meanwhile, is worried that like she actually is like, not happy about their fake marriage, which would be bad for him if that were the case. So he decides to just kind of like approach it immediately, and he's like, hey, if you've got some like some sort of issues with our life here, then just let me know. And he was like, God damn it, no, he won't let me have anything. So she's like, okay, well, if I don't tell him what my gripes are, then he can't just get rid of them. So she says, I have gripes about everything. And Lloyd's will be like, oh, what? No. And she starts to get into like, no, I am not satisfied with our life together. And her brother Yuri comes in. Just like, nobody invited you. No, nobody. Why are you coming through the door like you own the place? Stop that. But of course, he immediately hears this, thinks that Lloyd has not been treating Yor very well. And he says like, oh, I warned you, Lloyd Forger, that if you ever tried to make my sister cry, I'd have you execute. I mean, I would be upset because nobody knows what I do for my job except Lloyd.
Yes.
So, Yor is immediately in the position of like, I can't just like explain why I'm trying to have a gripe with Lloyd, basically, just because that's a normal thing. And Yuri, suddenly switches tacks from, oh, instead of like being angry at Lloyd for this, I can use this to, like get Yor to dump him like I've always wanted. Except he mumbles this to himself out loud instead of just thinking it to himself privately, and Lloyd literally calls him out on it. Maybe Yuri's not very smart. I don't know.
Yuri's just a dope,
yeah. So immediately he just switches to just the straightforward approach of like, hey, Yor, why don't we just like, let's go down to the courthouse and get you divorced. Come on, let's go. But Lloyd is trying to handle things, tactfully instead, and is just like, hey, have you like been holding on to like this grievance you've got for long? And Yours just says like, oh no, just since yesterday. Just fully honest about it. And Lloyd's immediately like, what's happening? We didn't even see each other yesterday until she got home. Did I do something? Did she get like really, really, really upset very suddenly? Is there something I did? I've got to remember. So he tries to replay it over in his head and thinks to himself like, oh, wait, maybe she learned about something about me when she went drinking with her co-workers, but I don't know anything. I've never had any contact with them. Maybe they learned about my true identity. And so eventually, Yuri's like, apologize for what you did to my sister, whatever it was. And Lloyd's like, yes, I'm so very sorry. And she says, no, don't apologize. I don't want to apologize to you, because she's like, I can't like have a gripe if he apologizes and tries to make up for everything. So Lloyd's instead like, you're right. An apology isn't enough. I will show you how I feel through my actions and make amends that way. She says, no, stop it. Stop being perfect. Basically. And then she turns to Yuri and it's like, and you stay out of this. Which, fair. The phone rings. It is a message for Lloyd, saying that there is a patient emergency, which of course means there's some sort of case that he's got to work on. So Yor immediately seizes on this, like, wait a minute, this is a new opportunity for me to have a legitimate gripe. And so she's like, oh, it's your day off and you're suddenly abandoning your family. How could you? Why? I can't be satisfied this way. And Lloyd, in a way that's a little bit not great, but honestly, for his priorities makes sense, just says, sorry, Yor, we'll talk about this when I get back. Because he understands that the code that he's just been given over the phone means that something very serious has happened and he's got to deal with it immediately. Yor's kind of happy with how things went because she's like, yay, I have a gripe now. And that sounded legitimate, like we're an actual married couple and stuff. But Yuri thinks to himself, he just suddenly left in the middle of things unexpectedly. I think he's cheating on you, Yor, because, he's an asshole like that. So she decides that they should, tail him and find out who he's seeing instead of Yor. And Yor is still a little bit tipsy from last night, so she thinks this is a good idea. So they go and try and trail him, and immediately Lloyd's like, I am an amazing super spy, so I know that I'm being tailed. So,
yeah.
Yep.
It is a little cartoonish to me that she drank one drink last night, got so drunk, and there's still a little drink in her this morning. I've never gotten that drunk. I'm still a little drunk in the morning.
I don't know how much she had. I think we saw her down 2 drinks total.
Oh, okay. I thought it was one of those like jokes where it's like 1 drink and she's fine. What? There was some alcohol in this tiramisu? I'm donezo.
I mean, that is the case with Yor. It's been previously established that happens to her.
Okay.
So, Yuri happens to spot a contact giving him signs on the side from an alley. So he's like, "Oh, I've got to go, Yor. We're really sorry," and so he has to run off. So Lloyd's like, "Okay, I'm not going to worry about that," and he sets off and he goes to the hospital. Apparently, not spotting Yor, which isn't really like commented on or anything like that. But I think that he doesn't actually spot her.
Who, Lloyd?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he does.
He says, I can't believe they're following me, even Yor. Probably best to shake them at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was just wrong about that. I probably was.
Ninja says, grovel for me, Nick.
Okay. Yor happens to sober up as Lloyd is heading into the hospital and just kind of goes, what am I doing? And just goes home.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Why am I here? Finish, just go home.
If I don't have any gripes with Lloyd, shouldn't that be a good thing? I'm just going to go home now. Fiona gives Lloyd some the lowdown on the situation, which it turns out that there was a mole that got into Wise at some point, and they have uncovered the culprit, but he got away. And they got away with some documents pertaining to Operation Strix. And if it gets into the East's hands, then the entire mission could be in danger. And we see that this is actually the business that Yuri has been called away for, is that they have heard of this agent that is trying to cross the border with information for them. So a potentially big, dangerous thing might be happening, and we'll see how that develops soon.
Yeah, there's going to be a conflict between Lloyd and at some point Yuri, it seems like. They're on opposite sides of this, and now they're going to be going into like direct conflict. So I'll be curious to see what they do. I still feel like we're at a state where like the status quo isn't going to change. I feel like that's just going to all happen at once, but I am just curious to see how they play it out. Yes, I guess my favorite part is really just like you're having like a follow up from last chapter, be like, yeah, I guess I need to have grapes. I have grapes. I gotta follow you. I gotta have grapes. And then finally, like the last bit of alcohol, he's just like, oh, let's go home.
It's just I'm leaving.
It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. And Quinn, it's time.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get a big drink of water in now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Oh my gosh.
What?
I'm trying to.
19 chapters of Eden Zero.
Yeah, we're at chapter 239. I think the last chapter we discussed was 222, so 18 or so chapters of Eden Zero. That's a lot. The long and short of this, guys, is nothing has really happened. If you remember the last time we talked about Eden Zero and you haven't been following it since then, the cast of Eden Zero went into Universe Zero. They're hopping multiverses to the good multiverse, the last multiverse. Once they're here, they can't leave. But in this multiverse, everything has been really good so far. Happy wasn't a cat or a robot anymore. People were alive. Stuff like that. In general, as we'll start to cover, that's just the running trait. Like they go to Norma, they find Weiss, and his mom's alive, and like, oh, that's very sweet. And Sabir's just like a cool dude in this universe, kind of just like just thumbs up motions. And it's like, maybe I'm gonna hit on your mom. Woo!
And Weiss is like, no, don't do that. I'm gonna do it.
I should note though, the last thing we talked about was when they met. Witch was still alive. I saved a bunch of panels on my phone to kind of remember what's happening. You won't really be able to see unless I focus in here, like right next to it. The only reason I kept this is because there's a scene where Witch and Rebecca are giving each other massages.
Yep.
And Rebecca is like, I want to give you a massage. And Witch is like, that doesn't really do anything for me. And Rebecca's like, well, I want to do something for you. Witch says, okay, could I use you as a guinea pig for my mind-numbing torture and pleasure massage? And then she motions over to like one of those crosses with like little manacles on it. And I was like, isn't it enough that we have one Dami robot on this ship? Did we need two? Yep. Was it absolutely necessary?
Basically, Rebecca's just every robot girl's bottom. Yeah.
And it's fair, I suppose. Except she doesn't seem to want to be. That's the part that doesn't make it fun. They meet Wise. He's fine. Immediately join up. They do this whole thing. Like, if you meet somebody, you start to, like, get your memories back of that person. You, like, flash over. I need to note they do that in the last season of Lost. It's one of the most emotional things for me to, like, think about. Here, it is always funny because it never has an emotional beat to it. We'll get to another reason later. But we do find out where Homura is in this timeline as she's like nervously seen in front of Drac and Joe. And he says, a poor girl being forced to pay her parents' debt. But the thing is, as long as your mother's nowhere to be found, the only choice is to collect from you. You have your mother's good looks, so I bet Eligad'd be willing to pay good money to take you on. Eligad'Nick is the guy the weird frog guy who turned women into furniture. So just want to note, he is very clearly asking her to sell herself into something there.
Yep.
We cut over. The gang has arrived on Foresta or Gilst, I think was the name of the planet. I can't remember the planet's names. And they found Sister. Now, Nick, how do you think they get Sister's memories back? You know, what's like the triggering incident for her that gets her to be like, oh, right, the other universe? Do you think it's like love?
I think, Quentin, I think it must be like, there's like an expression, like a phrase that Rebecca and Shiki use that she's come to associate with them, that makes her think about all those times of friendship, laughing and eating together and being good buddies on the Eden Zero.
Okay, what if instead of that, she started tying up Rebecca and she was like, oh, I've done this before, and all the memories from the other universe come back. I was going to show it to the screen, but I don't know if I want to show this one on video. It is meant to be a joke. Like, oh, this, because then she has a real one after that. Like, oh, all my friends, like real memories, not just like all the times I spanked Rebecca. But I do want to note, I did save an image on my phone where later on she does say this is the catalyst to wake her up. Well, she was like, oh, all my special times with Rebecca, I had to remember them.
Even beyond that, like, apparently the cheesecake literally has plot relevance to it, as revealed in this universe. So
they recruit her. She still does work for Rogue Out, which was a villain group I barely remember, but in this one, Rogue Out's like a good group who's trying to fight against Draken Joe, because Draken Joe's a really bad guy. But Shiki's like, fuck that shit, like, I bet I could be friends with that bitch. It should be noted that Hamura did go to sell herself to the frog guy, but Moskoy saved them all. I don't recall if Moskoy has an awakening moment. He just seems to know, and that's fine with me. I didn't need more Moskoy.
There is a mention of his awakening moment that he says, like, oh, I saw this and all my memories just came back. We don't see it actually happen. It's just that he says.
Okay, he saw his don't push button or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something along those lines. Everything, by the way, I should note, has been happening very quick, like a chapter, boom, chapter, boom. No time to really like dwell on anything. But then we arrive at Belial Gore, which used to be a space station. Now it's a part of Gilst, the planet. And this is where Draken Joe and the Elemental 4 exist. And we have to take our time now, because we had to reintroduce the members of the Element 4. But Nick, there's a twist. Do you remember who were members of the Element 4 before?
Laguna.
Yep.
Clean. And the others.
Yep. Well, Clean is still there. And Jin, of course.
Right.
Laguna is not the water member of the Element 4, Nick.
But who could it be, Quinn?
The only other aquatically themed character in the series, Nick Poseidon Nero, the dice guy. He rolled the dice for the Golden Girls.
Wow, so he was like an emperor of the galaxy in the previous universe, and now he's the hopefully most important member of the Goon Squad.
You'd like to hope. He has a line that he says to Shiki at one point where he's like, because a lot of cliffhangers in this portion of Eden Zero are just, this thing is different from your universe. Bum, bum, bum. So, like, at the end of a cliffhanger chapter is just Poseidon Nero is a member of the Element 4. It means nothing.
Yes.
I'm sorry. There's so much. I need water, just like Poseidon Nero. He doesn't need water, actually. Yeah. He also reveals to Shiki that he's like, my son Shura is operating the Emperor now. But then, like, another chapter's cliffhangers, he's like, he is going to destroy that cosmos. Like, because he starts helping Shiki. They reveal like a plot point that all the characters are a little bit weaker than they were before, because while their ether is where it would be after their 3 years of training in between, like the Shura arc and then the whatever Cade Cosmos arc or whatever, their bodies have gone back to basically 3 years ago. So physically, they can't keep up with their ether gear power. And Poseidon Hero is just like, well, if you use overdrive, it doesn't matter. And they do.
Pretty much.
They do.
Stupid. This point was really weird to me because we are told, like, no. It's not just a new game plus situation where they're just automatically as strong as they were at the end of their adventures post time skip in the previous galaxy, but they're fighting opponents that are only as strong as they were at the time. No. They have all those techniques, but their bodies haven't been trained to use them.
Yeah. And
It's
also,
a very weird distinction.
Nebulously, all of their opponents have also gotten stronger. The way it's phrased doesn't make sense because the character who explains it is not from another timeline. But he goes on to explain, yeah, it's like a new game plus, though, in one of those games where every time you beat it, the game gets a little harder. You've unlocked super hard mode. And they use this just as a justification for characters to fight people they've already fought again.
Right.
Rebecca fights the bondage dude from the Element 4. And it is one of the funniest exchanges. A chapter which we could have recapped live because it's very dumb.
Oh, absolutely.
Rebecca tries to fight and falls. And she falls with her hands behind her back. So the Element guy ties her hands up behind her back. And she's like, what can I do? I can't use my ether gear. Happy is in the robot in this universe, so I can't turn him into guns. And then Happy shouts out from across the room, he's like, you already have guns! And she's like, oh yeah! And she just starts fighting. She just starts shooting with her hands tied behind her back. And I'm going to show an image. I'm going to hold this up to the screen here. I'm just going to really zoom in. I want you to look at that middle panel. Have you ever seen Assy McGee on Adult Swim? Which was just a butt with legs who shot guns.
I can even make my ass do tricks.
That's all I saw when I saw this shot. Was fucking Assy McGee with just a gun next to him firing. It's very, very silly. They do win. They beat everybody.
Hermit comes back at this point.
Off screen, yeah.
Just like literally, sister says, "I'm gonna go find Hermit. I found Hermit."
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, we don't have time for that. Which, to be fair, they also go to explain that there actually wasn't going to be a plot in this world in our universe. There wasn't a bunch of shit going on, so they wouldn't have been. There'd been no reason to have a plot here anyway. But they finish everything going on with the Element 4, and then are about to show down with Drac and Joe, but then she's like, no, I said I was going to be friends with this bitch, so I am going to be friends with him. And he just kind of talks Drac and Joe into stopping, because he's like, I saw your flashback before, and I know you sucked the lives out of people, but you didn't want to. And then Drac and Joe's kind of just like, I'm actually not that bad of a guy. I've only been killing animals this whole time. Yeah. And I was like, I think for some people that's not much better. But, I go off king, I guess. And Drac and Joe is basically just like, look, I know I don't seem like a good dude, but it's necessary to have darkness in this world. And the entire time, Poseidon Nero is laying on the ground, smashed against a wall, but he's just smirking because he's like, I know you really want friends, buddy. You're my best friend. I know you just want pals.
That's my buddy, DJ Zombie.
They don't call him that, unfortunately enough. So they just kind of end the situation there. Drac and Joe, I guess, has now discovered he really does want friends, even though he'll never admit it. Shiki's like, I made a new friend walking around. Everyone's like, I don't think they like you. But whatever. So they're like, all right, cool. We gotta go other places now. And they're like, we have to go find Hamura because stuff's going on. So they have to go to Sun Jewel. I can't remember if this happens here because I didn't take enough screenshots during that little arc. Oh no, this happens afterwards. So they go to Sun Jewel. If you recall, previously run by Madame Kurenai. They're like, oh my god, I wonder what's gonna happen here. Hamura is with them at this point, but she's just a shell of her former self. She hasn't had the swap over memory yet or anything like that. But she did explain that Valkyrie is dead in her universe as well because her head got cut off after Homura went a little too hard in the paint in a training match against like the Shogun's son, who was the dude from the
Fortunately, Lord Seiji was there to help me out. He was there the whole time, always relevant to my character. Always, he's always been here in my life. Yep. The connection we're gonna develop is gonna not come out of nowhere. So he's always here.
So Valkyrie was dead in this universe. Her head has been chopped off, and that was enough for Homura to go off on her own, try to be like, let me find my real mom. Finds out like her mom's just kind of abandoned her, and she's left with this crushing debt from Draken Joe, which is not really brought up again, by the way.
Nope.
They just kind of note, they're like, oh, Draken Joe, he doesn't care anymore. So they go to Sun Jewel. They find out Madame Kurenai is there, but here she's just Kurenai. She's not Madame, and she is the leader of like the station protection task force against the bugs. She's Earth Defense Force 1, basically. And this is going to sound insane, but they have to give a reason why Madame Kurenai is good in this universe. So Madame Kurenai actually just came here on her own to make money, but she was so hot, this one dude was like, I need you to stay here forever. And if she tried to leave, he'd start shooting lasers from space at people. So she had to stay here. And it's this very elaborate explanation to just be like, we invented some new dude who sucks, and that's now Madame Kurenai is good. Rebecca, or they start having this big fight. It looks like things are bad. Homura's gonna try to get involved. Who should show up, Nick? Valkyrie. She's still alive.
She's fine. She's fine.
She's like, if you cut a robot's head off, it doesn't do anything stupid.
Yep. So now, of course, we have to ask the obvious question, which would have, I'm sure, been brought up as a really, really, bitter point. Wait, what the fuck? If Kurenai's not a bad person, and Valkyrie wasn't dead, then why the fuck was Homura having to sell herself into sexual slavery? Why did no one come and get her? Oh, there's an explanation, guys. It's fine.
They explain that, Madame Kurenai, of course, could not have left because lasers from space would have killed innocent people because of one jealous dude, which is fine.
And you can't get on the phone, Quinn. That's just impossible.
There's no way. There's, Nick, a space phone? In this universe? Hell no.
Space Skype? Nah.
Absolutely not. Valkyrie couldn't, because Valkyrie recovered because, again, thanks to Lord Seiji. He's so cool, Nick. He's so cool and handsome. I can't wait to see what that kid gets to do in the future. He's so cool. Oh, man. What a great dude. I bet he's going to be real important later on.
Also, he fixed her. Yeah. So on top of being an important noble son, he apparently is Anakin Skywalker and can just put droids back together because.
Yes. Valkyrie was like, oh, wait, Homura already left. I guess Homura didn't even wait till the body was cold before she's like, I'm out.
I gotta
go. Get out of here, gang. So Valkyrie's like, what am I supposed to do? So she's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go find that space fortune teller. So she goes to Xiaomei, and Xiaomei is like, if you go to Sun Jewel, she'll show up eventually. So she does. She just goes and waits on Sun Jewel. But now everyone's here. Seeing Valkyrie brings all of Otherworld Homura's thoughts in. She's awakened. She's super cool. They also had to explain that she never owed money to Draken Joe. It was just a mistake, basically. So that way, we redeemed Draken Joe of being evil in any way, shape, or form to the characters we care about. So now the gang's all here. We even have Valkyrie back as Nick. This is truly the perfect world. Cut to the Eden House baths. And I know what you're thinking. Why do we have to cut here? Nick, it's because a brand new discovery is going to happen. Two characters start training in the bath. And they're like, you shouldn't do that. And they're like, actually, Ether Gear is at your strongest when you're new.
You should exclusively do training while you're naked in the bath.
Everyone who's wearing clothes while they use Ether Gear is fucking stupid. You should just be using nothing. Rebecca realizes, oh my god, my Ether Gear has always been the strongest when I've been nude.
I've been naked. It's canon now. Remember that time when she was at her lowest point and like everyone was dead at Jack and Joe's hands and she was really despairing and so she activated her cat leaper to go back in time? What was she doing then? Taking the bath naked. Yep.
What are you gonna do, Nick? Because here's the thing. I keep getting confused because they referenced the other universe and I was like, was she naked? I know she had lost the strip poker match, but I couldn't remember if they actually had taken all of her clothes off yet or not, or it was the threat of losing her clothes that was going to it. And I was like, I need to go. I was like almost gonna be like, I have to go back and check because I was like, that's not nude. if that's the point. But yeah, this is definitely like a moment of like, everyone will be naked in the future. Don't worry, guys.
That's it, guys. Oh man. All our criticisms about the sexy stuff in Eden Zero. No. Hero the god had a plan the whole time. It was always just part of the power scaling in Eden Zero. The women had to be naked.
It just made sense, Nick, when you think about it. If they're nude, their powers are stronger. So everyone should be fighting naked. Except, of course, for Elsie, whose power is to make armor. She will never get stronger if you can't get naked. Come on, what are you doing?
God.
We are then given like a lore dump about how the Edens 1 is here, but things are different in this universe. Ziggy is not here. He is not leading the Edens 1, I should say. The ship AI that has gained self-awareness and taken over has basically built itself its own robot body, which is way stronger. Actually, let me pull it back. The 4 Dark Stars are there. Brigadine doesn't wear a helmet because we already know what he looks like. And then the Eration 6 Galactica all work on it. We know Aknoella and Dead End Crow are both members of it. Which is Cure, basically. I think maybe they call him Dead End Cure in this. And then they drop 3 new names we haven't really heard of before. One of them is mentioned as being like Lady Freya, the master of every weapon that Valkyrie kind of considers a rival. And then they drop the news that Master Xenolith is a member of the Eration 6. You're like, wow, that's actually a big thing. Because I thought the series had kind of forgotten about that character. He just hasn't been mentioned for a very long time.
It might be the most interesting thing that has happened since the time skip.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I can't remember if it comes up in the newest chapter or if it's later or earlier.
Well,
but I need to mention the main guy's name.
Right. It is. Well, let's say what it is for short first, because when you say what it is for short, it doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, they call him Void generally. Pretty quickly. Like if they're like Void is here or whatever, like something like that.
Okay.
But the greatest mechanical king of the universe will ever know. His full name is Overnew Etherion Void.
Short for One Void.
Oh my fucking god, what a loser.
Because he's the Eden's 1, so there had to be a reason why it gets worked in, and you know it's Overnew Etherion Void. Which I fully admit, when I first saw it, because of the way that it was laid out, I thought it was short for like Onev.
Yeah, I kept trying to pronounce it. I was like, Onev? That's nothing. Okay, so it did. So, all right, I now have to wrap up. So they're now in the OW system. I don't know why I called it OWI. The OWI system. They're going to pick up Laguna, who is the leader of the resistance for everything. There's like a whole bunch of stupid stuff where he's like an actor, and they're like, oops, we made a mistake, because that's the only character detail about him that's otherwise been mentioned. But they run into Shura, and Shura and Shiki kind of have a little bit of a stare down. It's revealed Shura's not as evil in this universe, despite there being like a setup that like Nero was like, I think my grandson or my son is going to destroy the empire. I guess you could frame it as like he's going to do something dumb and destroy the empire or whatever. It doesn't. It was another one of those setup like fake outs or whatever. But he's good in this universe. He loves his friends, and he is legitimately in love with Ajuna, the person who in the other universe he put a bomb up their anus.
Yep, it was true love. It was always true love. And this is the proof, guys.
Yeah.
This is the proof. We can't criticize the bomb up the anus plot point anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All of Oceans are here. Even Saika, the older robot grandpa, is still here because he hasn't been killed yet. Because in this universe,
They've all got wacky repartees in this version of events.
Shura likes his robot grandpa, which leads us to chapter 239. This is the most recent chapter that we're gonna recap. Then 239, it's him, and I apologize, I'm reading off my phone. I don't know if there's a browser-based version for this, but I stupidly bought money into this without creating an account, so even then I think I'm stuck to this device until that money runs out. So Shura is like, all right, you and me have to work together, Shiki. We can kill Xenolith because it's this big thing. Xenolith destroyed an entire planet. He just destroyed Foresta, just fucking blew it up, killed everybody, basically. Also, this is a plot point I need to add. Eggbot is alive and well in this universe.
Yes, they specifically dedicate time to showing, and I have to say, I was really, really hoping when that Eggbot showed up at the next page would it be being blown up.
It's another full page spread of him being shot. So he's like, hey, Xenolith is here somewhere on this planet. Oasis is harboring him somewhere. Shiki's like, it doesn't seem like Laguna knew where he was. Sure, it's like, you're a friend of Laguna's. It's like, yeah, and Xenolith isn't really a bad guy either. Sure, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This dude has killed an entire planet. Are you one of Xenolith's goons? And Shiki's like, not really. We're kind of friends. I don't really know what to say here. Shura's like, look, Xenolith is on that planet. We know this. Like, do you know what that means? He could use his powers to wipe out everyone on this planet. And if we don't do something to kill him, many more people are going to die. And if we don't succeed killing him here, I'm making the decision to use the all-link system to connect all the robots and stop them from functioning. And it'll be the only way to kill Zenith. And he's like, you can't do that. I won't let you. And Shura's like, I would be doing it for fun. I have android friends too. And we cut to Saika inside the ship, and he's like, it's just good to be thought of. Like, he really is just like, I'm just happy to hear you say nice things about me.
I feel like it makes Shura even worse that he has to say, like, hey, I've got android friends. I'm not
I have a dog in this fight, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, but hey, if to protect this cosmos, I need to make tough decisions. Cut over, his ship that all the members of Oceans are on is being attacked. He's like, hey, what's going on? The 4 shining stars have basically boarded the ship and just beat up everyone on Ocean. So yeah, new game plus super hard mode, not much of a thing. It's basically just to create more awkwardness because Shiki's like, oh god, now things are more complicated. Shura's really starting to like get agitated. It looks like a fight's gonna break out. Laguna shows up. He's like, we're not here to fight you. We all want the same thing. We all want to defeat Xenolith. There's so many things going on in this chapter.
There's so many. There's honestly so much packed in. There's so many characters involved in this one chapter.
They have to explain a bunch of other things because as we found out eventually, members of these groups knew each other. So like, Jin has to be like, Callum, it's you. Callum's like, Jin from Robot Ninja School. How are you been doing? And we have to have Laguna address the fact that Ajuna has joined Shura, and she explains she joined him as an undercover spy, but has fallen in love with him. And I guess the dumb members of Oceans were like, she was a spy the whole time. But yeah. Micah is just like, it was super obvious she was a spy. Who cares? There's a joke that Witch is like, our sister is like, ooh, when a spy gets caught. And he says, Emperor sure would never do such a thing.
She was literally sexually tortured and mentally broken in the last universe. And they're making a joke about, hey, wouldn't it be fun if she were kinky tortured? It's like, fuck off.
Very, very exhausting. They're like, all right, hey, look, Oasis and Emperor, the Empire have been butting heads for a long time. We should do the same thing. And they're like, hey, we got a tip saying you are harboring Xenolith. And he's like, who is your informant? He says, a doctor in our science division. And there's a voice that says, it was the scientist. He started all of this. And they're like, that voice, it's a perfect match to Xenolith's voice print. But Nick, who is it coming from? None other than Eggbot! Eggbot's there with Xenolith's face and just like, hello, I'm Xenolith. And
Yep.
it's revealed that Xenolith was never an interesting plot point because Xenolith's body was actually taken over by the head researcher of the Imperial Space Department, Dr. Mueller, Nick. The evil doctor who tortured Jin and Clean and did
And
other...
Hermit.
And Hermit. The evil doctor, he's here. And he's the bad guy.
Yep. Why can't anything interesting happen in this alternate universe? Like it's so weird because I know that this is supposed to be like, oh, it's the universe of potential where like everyone could potentially get their good ending. So, you know, like all the things that like we really wanted to have happen in the last universe where, you know, things kept on having bad endings, people had to die and stuff. Hey, it's all right. Everyone's happy now. It feels like it's erasing a lot of drama and a lot more interesting stuff to just like say like, no, none of that. Good stuff instead. Well, how does the good stuff happen? It's just good in this universe. That's all.
Someone dickish takes over the parts that were bad before, basically.
Even the people who were dicks in the last universe, like, hey, I got attached to these characters, so now they're good. So there we go.
Yeah.
It's just somehow less interesting than Zero ever was before.
Yeah, like, look, I don't necessarily have like a dog in the fight of like they're doing too many nice things in this universe, because like I get it, that's what this whole thing is supposed to be. So I kind of get the idea. You're like, look, we want to make some of these characters redeemable. Like I get Poseidon Zero or Nero, like I get it, he wasn't that big of a dickhead before. I get it. Even Drac and Joe, in a weird way, I'm like, I kind of get it. I didn't expect for them to still be like, he's still like kind of a gangster, but like a gangster with friends.
Yeah, and it's not that bad of a jump for him.
Yeah, I'm like, I kind of get it. Shura, I always knew was going to happen. I don't. My voice cracked there. Like I always knew this was gonna happen.
You're really emotional.
I always knew this. No, I think it was just a burp. I always knew they were going to redeem Shura. Like the moment I set this up, I was like, I think we're going to do it just because they're setting up for everything good.
Right. Once we had, you know, that red string of fate bullshit that happened between him and Ajuna where it was supposed to be sad that they were dying together, like, you know that there was no way that he was going to be the same. It was like, no, now they get to be happy together and stuff.
Just very, very dumb things all around. The thing that's killing me is the writing is still really bad. It's still, there's constantly setups and fake outs so frequently, which like the way it's framed is the same way it was before. Like like Eden Zero has always kind of done this. I guess Hero kind of has recently just kind of like become part and parcel with this. But it's so much more obvious when you read it in a condensed format like this. Very clearly the Xenolith thing. Like, it's been set up for like 4 or 5 chapters now. Xenolith is an antagonist. Shiki has been wrestling with his like complicated feelings on the matter. This is like a big deal. And then in this chapter, it's like, actually, Xenolith isn't evil. There's a much more evil person who's mind controlling him. And it's like, God, there really just can't be an interesting thing in this universe. It just can't happen. It's physically not allowed.
I think the thing that annoys me the most is the stuff that involves Homura. I always had a little bit of a soft spot for Homura because, you know, she had an interesting backstory and that had a lot of loss in it from her introduction. And this sequence of events has essentially reduced all the drama involved with her down to, oh, are she and Seiji gonna get to see each other again and get married? And it's the amount of stuff that is just thrown away in order to get us to that point is really, really frustrating. Valkyrie has been brought back into the series after, you know, 200 chapters of like, oh my god, that's the big thing. Like, this is the missing member of the Four Shining Stars, this big missing part of Umaru's backstory. Kind of the thing that I assumed would like be her wish if they were to meet Mother, would be to have her back. And it's like, okay, yeah, she's back, and she's just, just here. She's just another very easily, just like interchangeable member of the crew. She's a girl who is drawn sexy and fights good. And that's really the only impression you get of her. She doesn't seem unique personality-wise now that she's been removed from that drama of, like, the one that died. And, like, all the stuff that was, like, motivating to some of these characters before is gone. Like, why Smother? Oh, she's just fine now. Like, all this stuff is just, like, they're fine now.
And I get it, because it's like, that's what they're trying to say. This is the perfect world. All the bad things that have happened, like, in this universe, it didn't happen or whatever. I just, at this point, again, we discussed 18 chapters, almost like, 4 months or so, almost, of chapters. It feels like the series should be done at this point. Like, we jump to these things, we see they're good, we move on, and I guess that's what it's doing. But again, we had like a chapter apiece for every fight against a member of the Element 4, except for some reason Clean and Jin's fight against Sister, where we just cut back to it and she's like, won't you guys learn? And they're like, we woke up in the middle of our fight, you just kept beating our ass. And it's just one of these things you're just like, why are we spending time with these things? Like, if you want to do your everybody wins, happy ending kind of thing, like, I just want it to move to the point where, like, obviously there's going to be a conflict with Eden's one or whatever, and just end it. Like, I just don't feel like we need to spend all this time sitting here dwelling in this weird victory lap that, like, you fake adding suspense and drama to when it's immediately deflated in the next chapter being like, actually, this person sucked and they never were cool. But everyone you liked from the old universe is here and they're cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're back in it, Quinn.
Yeah. Woo! All right, let's do it.
More next week. Oh, that was a long one. All right. Akane-banashi, everybody. It's story 61, Time Machine. So Akane has decided that she needs to learn more about Shinta, her father, if she's going to, try and get back to her roots as a Rakugoka, i.e. how her dad would perform stories. So she, starts going around to the other apprentices. She goes to Koga, I think that's his name, first, and it's just like, yeah, I wanted to ask you about this stuff, and he brings up to begin with, I mean, you've never asked me about it before, and she says, I mean, would you want to hear old stories about your parents?
I'm like, that's all I do whenever I find somebody who knows my parents. I'm like, what was my dad like?
So, she admits, like this entire time I've really only just seen him as just being my father. So but I need to understand really all aspects of him, including as a performer, in order to do it. So he says, okay, well, why don't you ask him yourself? And Akane says, I can't. I mean, we don't have a bad relationship. I talk to him about my friends and stuff, but ever since he got kicked out of the school, I've just never spoken to him about Rakugo. And I think he seems like he wants to distance himself from that. I think that he's supportive of my goal to be a Rakugoka, but so it's still a very awkward subject for her, at least, to approach him with. And she is told, yeah, and I don't think you should ask Master Shigema about him. But he also says, like, well, he loved books. He would go to bookstores all the time. And she goes around to the others, like Gurika says, like, I didn't really know him all that well because, I was the newest apprentice. But, he helped to look after me. Kyoji says, like, he was always really direct and sincere. He got really cheerful when he drank, and we would dance the capoeira together and stuff. And Maikara says he was sensitive and decisive, but when you needed him to step up, he was the guy you wanted. And even beyond that, she, while she is working and doing like Zenza stuff, she talks to other masters there. They, are exchanging memories about stuff. And he goes to talk to Aurora about it too, and she immediately is just like, "Forget about that. Hey, did Hikaru kick your ass at that exam? It was pretty good, right? Yeah, yeah." And then finally, Akane goes home, and she talks to her mom. And she says, like, "Yeah, well, he was able to become Futatsume while doing changing time and stuff. I wonder, do you feel like you can like pull off like acting like a married couple when you're doing the performance?" And it kind of is like, "Ugh!" So she's still trying to figure things out. And her mom goes on to say, like, your dad and I, after you went to bed, we would have, we would drink at the table and we'd talk about Rakugo. And I didn't really understand anything about it, but so it was more like he would talk and I would listen. But if you want to know about Rakugo and that earlier question, the quickest way would have been to share drinks with him back then. But that's impossible, obviously. But Akane thinks to herself and gets an idea. Her mom falls asleep watching TV, and when she comes to, she hears a conversation going on. But as it turns out, she's having a conversation with her dad. But not her dad. She is having an imagined conversation with him as if they're having a drink together from when he was the age that he was when he was still doing Rakugo.
It's so sweet.
Yeah. And it's really sad that like she doesn't feel she can have this kind of a conversation with her dad for real. That's bittersweet, what's going on. That's not the end of the chapter for some reason. It's like that's a very big emotional climax.
Yeah, I kind of wish it ended there.
But she goes and reports back to Maikeru, and she says, our discussion earlier helped me to understand Rakugo is a time machine. And Maikeru's like, before I ask what you mean by that.
He's like, curious, but okay. Can you not headbutt the mic, Professor Peanuts?
Nope. He's gonna do it.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Talking up there now.
Yep. And then like time goes by very, very quickly, and we go to the day of the selection event afterwards. There's a nice little bit where we see some of the others like getting ready to head out, including the older Rakugoka that we've been introduced to, saying goodbye to his family and his kid going, "Good luck, Daddy," just to go home. Yeah, this guy's not, some kid doing this. But yeah, that's where we leave off. It was a very cool moment that, again, as we have said, it's kind of weird that it just wasn't the conclusion of the chapter, but we'll get into more stuff next week, I guess.
Yeah, very sweet. I just want to say it's very, very good. I realize we probably should pick up the pace because we have so many series to talk about in like less than an hour, but it's a good chapter.
Yep. Blue box.
Blue box.
Guys, it's chapter 100. I want to see her. That's the chapter title. Last time, Taiki sent a message to Shinatsu just saying, "Hey, when you get back, I want to talk to you about something." And after a bit of a pause, she texted back, "Sure."
There you go.
Which, based on the expressions that she was making in the previous chapter, that's one of those, like, I am not going to give away the emotions that went behind crafting this text message. Sure. Taiki meets back up with the New Year's group, and then Kyo and Hina, who fell behind when he was, helping her out with her injury, they join up as well. So they started hanging out. There were some conversations going on, including between Ayame and her sister Karen. And Karen says to her, like, "Hey, you're being pretty caring towards the team that you're being a manager for." But she says, "Yeah, okay, I get it." And she says, "That boy with the glasses seems okay." And she's like, "What? What about him?" And Karen's like, you like him. I mean, you seemed kind of jealous when Hina was with him. And she's like, no. I like hottie-esque hotties. Hottie-esque kind of hot hotties are my type.
For a moment, Nick was like, phew!
Yeah, don't correct me yet. Fuck you, I got it. She justifies it to herself by saying, like, she was just troubled because she knows how Hina feels about Taiki. And so she kind of like tries to laugh it off and just nah, I don't like him. Nah.
I would never date anyone on the team.
Nope. We then meet up with Taiki's family when he gets home. You know, he has New Year's stuff going on with his family. And then he just goes to bed and he's like, "When's Chinatsu Senpai coming back?" He briefly mentions that there is a skiing trip on the 4th and 5th, but he's like, "I want to see her." He thinks about the text that he sent to her, and then he's like, "Maybe I don't want to see her." So then he decides to go out for a run, and as he runs, he passes by the court that he would sometimes, kind of hang out at with Chinatsu. He remembers them kind of playing a little bit together. Passes by the temple that they visited together, and a bunch of memories as he's just kind of running around town that he's made with Chinatsu over the year that they have been living together, all flash through his mind. And then even more memories, the time that they went to the beach together, the time that they met up during the school festival, until eventually he comes to the gym and he remembers all the memories that they have had there and all the special times that they've had. And he just kind of remembers specifically just like coming up while she was, practicing by herself and her smiling while reading him. And then he goes back home. There is a nice little Happy New Year letter that Shinatsu has sent to the Unamata family, just saying, "Oh, thank you for everything that you've done for me." And he sees it and he's like, "God, I want to see her." Just seeing her freaking writing just makes me feel that way. Just her being around makes me happy. That's the kind of love that I'm in right now. And hey, it's nice that, he can have just that level of self-awareness and honesty that, like, I just really love this girl and she just makes me happy.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I think there's a lot in this chapter. I really do love the walk down memory lane. It's very funny. You're like the nostalgia of a 16-year-old thinking about their 16 years of life or whatever. Like their 16th, like all these things have happened in the past like 8 months.
Pretty much.
But it's very sweet. We've gotten to see this in a longer time frame, so it's nice for us to see these places and these memories. And I do love how he sees the gym and then it's like a full page of these memories. It's nice. Does explain why the series is called Blue Box and the memories we shared in that strange little blue gymnasium or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we have been talking in terms of the lead up of like, oh, does something big happen on chapter 100? And really, it was just kind of like a little celebration in its own way of like, hey, look at all the stuff that we've done so far. And it was nice to just have that, not just revisit those memories, but specifically see the impact that they have had on Taiki. And it's like, yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah. All right, Nick, we have to talk about Cipher Academy and all those morgues.
Is it a cheer now?
Yep.
Chapter 23, Too Many Wars Spoil the Battleship Fund Broth.
Yep. You say the little time. I think that was an Offspring song.
We can't stop talking about Cipher Academy. The titles alone make it worth it. So we open on a kind of a weird scene of I don't know if they're like actually overseeing a freaking actual war map or if they're playing some weird version of Risk. That's where we open up with Iroha.
They say scrambling to study. So part of me is like, well, if they were actually taking part in like a war, they wouldn't be kind of studying, right? So I have to think it's some simulation of some kind.
I guess, yes. Yukiko passes by and gets a little bit like passive aggressive with Iroha, like, "Oh, trying to study now that you're the leading private. Well, you better keep it up." And she walks out and then immediately collapses to one knee, going,
I
"Ugh,
shouldn't have been mean to him.
why am I so mean to him?" And Taya just apologize to him. Just apologize like I did. It's like, what are you talking about? You never did that. But Iroha happens to like be listening through the window and says like, "Hey, look, if you feel like there's like this unresolved tension between us, then let's settle things once and for all. Either through a code battle or a dance battle." And immediately cut to a two-page spread of them dance battling.
I love this stupid school.
And eventually the two of them like collapse. They went to like the basketball court in order to have this out. And they're still kind of like not refusing to concede that having lost,
because there was no
battle.
judge. No one can decide who won in this. It's a dance contest. It's an arbitrary thing.
Tayu was with them and is like, "I'm not judging this shit.
Yeah,
Fuck
that.
I'm not judging this as surely as I definitely apologize to that kid."
Yeah. I already apologized. I don't need to do anything else.
We get her calling back all the way to, hey, that puzzle that was given to Roha that he could not actually solve before. And she says, like, "Yeah, so the code that I gave you, you did not have enough information in order to solve this. Because it's not really a code, it's a password. Meant to update Glass's weapons from AR to VR."
Wow, Nick, we're going to the metaverse.
Oh my god, we're gonna meet the VR troopers finally.
Oh my god. I hope I have the one I had an action figure of. I don't know his name, but I played a lot with him. I think it was in a discount bin, and I got him for maybe a couple $.
We are VR troopers.
Hell yeah. Oh man, now I'm going to look up VR troopers.
I don't know. God, when is that going to be coming to a streaming platform near us? Come on.
Yeah,
So,
I need to see everything that Ryan Steele and Caitlin Starr, all their adventures.
Ryan Steele. They go on about the Glass's weapon's true power for a bit, and then Iroha does a weird swiping motion because somebody has just arrived. They're carrying a cane, so you know that they're serious business.
Yeah.
The newcomer says, "I never thought I'd see you meekly wait behind a boy. You've devolved into an adorable heroine, haven't you, Yukiko?" And Hiro's like, "They know each other? Is that a boy? No. All the boys have to sleep in the same room in the dorm, so there should be a male student at Cipher Academy who I don't know." And Tayu's like, "Man, really sucks to be a boy at this school, doesn't it?"
Like, wow, boys suck here. Like, that fucking blows.
So the cane wielder presents Iroha with a code which has a bunch
Hold
of...
on, can we just note what they say? They say, "It doesn't matter whether I'm a boy or a girl." It's like the movie The Fishtail.
All right, that's a reference I totally get. Anyway, here's a code for you to solve it.
Here's a bunch of clocks. Figure it out, bitch.
Bunch of clocks, all of them with the minute hand pointing at the 12, which Iroha seizes upon while doing his ice cold reading, and says, like, "Well, if you look at it this way, all of these have clock hands like this, where the hour hand is not pointing directly at an hour, but the minute hand is pointing directly at 12. In other words, it's not a 12-hour clock, it's a 24-hour clock. So, if you translate it to these Greek characters, then the word..."
Yep.
The phrase gives their name, which is Shitai Kubinashi. So Kubinashi says, "You are invited to the Leaders' Peace Conference, and we need to unite the 6 leaders' 6 passwords to update the Glass's weapon so that we can mine the 50 billion morgs worth of cryptocurrency. It's finally happening. The cryptocurrency mining has
Morg!
But there's a complication to this because, of course, Iroha gave away his glasses weapon, and he gave it away to Toshusai, who is being approached by one of the other leading privates in Valides Yonakyugisu. What's gonna happen now? Oh my god, is this gonna be the part where the rival gets their ass handed to them and
No.
solving a puzzle game?
No, Nick, I don't want that. I like Toshusai. She can't be the Joey Wheeler of this. She's the clue to the Senokaiba.
She's gotta be the kind.
I do love, again, just how Toshusai serves cunt in everything she does. She's walking down this hallway, arms crossed. Of course her arms are crossed. She recognizes someone's behind her, and she turns like full side, but her arms stay crossed. She's like, what do you want?
Unfortunately, she did not say a butt slang in this instance.
Yeah, unfortunately, she didn't have one right at the ready. Or maybe she already got them out for the day, and she's like, I don't need to do more.
I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I've put that shit behind my ass. Damn it.
Oh, damn. She's like, fuck, it doesn't carry over to the next day. I'm just wasting good butt material. I'm just butting in when I should. Ah, damn it.
No. I knew I was the butt of the joke. Just making an ass of it. No.
She
just gonna stop talking.
She just rips her own tongue out. She's like, meh.
Show to me.
Yeah. Just so silly. This is such a funny chapter.
God.
So much weird stuff is going on. I love this series. It's so over the top. I love to just have a random ass dance battle in the middle of it. And it's great. The art's incredible. It's just truly phenomenal. And then it just ends and they're like, I didn't lose, you lost. I don't think I lost.
No, it didn't. No, you're wrong.
Very, very funny, very silly.
Yep. Fun, enjoyable, pretty short chapter if you just kind of like do what I did and mostly zone out during the explanation of the VR abilities of the glasses weapons.
What do you mean, Nick? We have to know all about its metaverse capabilities. So I know how they interact with all my favorite metaverse content. Like,
I just need every just fallen out of favor internet fad to come up in this thing. Just all of them, please give them to me.
We have to Harlem shake our way to these morgues.
We're gonna have AI art coming in about 2 months more of this series.
Oh yeah, you give it time. They're like, AI is taking over everything. You have to do an AI puzzle fight.
Wait a minute, the hands on this thing look really weird. I think this is fake. Damn it, he's themed through.
How have you figured out this puzzle? Like, I didn't even need the LASIK for it. It's just really easy actually to find it.
Oh my god. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. We're talking chapter 2 of Do Retry. Money comes first. So the sister, she's been checked into the hospital, but oh dear, it costs more money for the upkeep, of course. So our protagonist has got to get some more money in order to make sure that Akari, doesn't die of the tuberculosis. So he does end up going back to Yuka, the Yakuza boss. But instead of begging for more cash, he says, I want to thank you for covering my sister's hospital costs, and gives her like some, like 10 yen basically, and says like, you helped us to avoid the worst case scenario, and this is all that I managed to make through my day labor, so I'm going to pay you back all that I owe you. Like, I don't agree with all the stuff that the Yakuza does, but I feel like this is the right thing to do. You could think this is really amusing. And she's like, look, the Yakuza, I know, does get up to some really shady stuff, but we also have a very varied business. For our group, the Torai group, we don't do anything unrefined. We use boxing as our business.
Whoa.
But they are still the Yakuza, so they probably do some shady stuff. But we need to have very just go with it. We have to say that, like, no, there's no more complications here. That might be interesting.
As we recall from famously unproblematic singer Robin Thicke, it's all about those blurred lines, Nick. You know you want it.
That's right. Yeah.
Truly the most abhorrent song of our lifetime.
Yeah. So somehow our protagonist boy is surprised that Yuka is the boss, even though she's clearly been the boss the entire time that he's come across her. And she's like, yeah, I don't approve of us, making money except through the honest means of boxing, beating the shit out of opponents in a fair ring, essentially. But of course, it's the Yakuza, and the place is filled with bad guys. A creepy scarred guy named Kuroiwa comes up behind our protagonist boy, and as a way of saying hello, punches him in the stomach really hard. This guy who's like 14, so what a big manly man he is. But he gets back up, and they're all like, "Oh my god, this guy's pretty tough, huh?" And they keep on beating him up, and it's like, "Oh, it's a way of indoctrinating people into the Yakuza. You beat the shit out of them and see if they can take it." And Yuka's like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then he gets hit by a car, and he's still fine. He gets up, keeps on running, gets chased through the street. While all the people in the street are like, hey, it's those Torai group guys. Look at them, chasing a small child with a gun. Ha, ha, ha. This is weird, very weird. But after he gets the shit beat out some more and keeps on getting back up, they eventually form, a lumberjack match around him, like an actual lumberjack thing where they form a circle around the fighters, and so they start. He starts to fight back, and Yuka's like, "Come on, Kuroiwa, look, look at this. This is enough. You don't need to fight anymore. The crowd's throwing money at your feet. That's how you make money doing boxing. Is you excite the crowd and then they just give you fucking money. That's why welcome to the WWF, kid." So he's like, look, if you fight this way, it's an honest way of doing it. You'll make money. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I have any other choice. I'll do it. So he agrees in order to save his sister's life. Yep.
Uh-huh.
It sure was a chapter that reiterated things we learned in the previous one.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be very funny. Like, oh, they're gonna chase after him with weapons. Oh, he gets hit by a car. Like, it's very cartoonish and silly. And like you do, I am like, okay, I am getting bone collection energy from some of this. I'm still just kind of at this place where I just don't feel anything towards this series. I feel like this protagonist doesn't have very similar actually to Bone Collection's protagonist. I feel like they have two personalities, which is like in anxiety kind of fueled trauma of like reaction to things like, I gotta run for this thing, and then like when they're not doing that, they're just kind of protagonist. So I feel like I'm hoping the next chapter is just like a good boxing chapter, and at the end of that I'll be able to be like, okay, I get an idea what fights in the series are, because I still feel like I haven't really seen it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I'm still kind of waiting to see what action the series is going to look like. We just see like the knockout punches, really, which I guess is what you want to see. But like, I still like none of them are like stealing into my mind when I watch them or anything like that. I want to see like this is supposed to be like a period sports piece. I want to see the sport.
Yeah, it feels like this was really the only thing I feel like was accomplished in this was establishing is like, it's okay that he is doing stuff for the Yakuza. It's okay.
It's cool.
Which, yeah, it's fine. So it's like, all right, yeah. Cool.
Now, Nick, we're going to talk about good chapters, so we got to talk about New Exorcist, or as I first read it, New Sexorcist. I mean, if you look at it, like the what do you call it? Kerning, I think, is like when letter spacing exists.
There's not great
it's
separation.
So close words. To New Sexorcist.
Yeah, especially because that apostrophe is knocking the S away from Nue. So yeah, it does really make it seem that way. Yeah. Oh, guys, look, it's a new exorcism series.
Wow. This is pretty iconic. We haven't had a new Exorcist series in a while.
Chapter 1, Portrait View of the Sky. There is a spirit who takes the form of a human woman who is just kind of stuck in a room of a school building and has been stuck there for 60 years. She's been waiting for someone to show up in this batch of students that will hopefully set her free, because she says, if someone doesn't show up this year, I'll have to say goodbye to the humans. Not really something that really comes up in the entire rest of the chapter from that point of like the time limit that she's apparently operating under. Uh-huh. We meet... Before we get to know our protagonist guy, Yugata, we instead meet a bowl-cut glasses dude named Zeno, who is being bullied by some guys, and he starts talking trash to them and just like, fuck off, leave me alone. And they're like, oh, I guess we need to beat the shit out of you. And instead, Yugata's like, oh, not Yugata, Yajima. Sorry, he's so memorable. He is like, oh, I'll buy you guys lunch instead. And Zeno comes up to him afterwards, like, hey, come on, you didn't need to do that. Let me pay for it with you. And he's like, no, it's fine. Oh, I'm always so nervous because there's evil spirits everywhere, and they feed off of bad energy from humans, so it's good to not have bad things happen ever, because then they get scary. So he tries to go up to the roof. Bunch of bad spirits come out, and he's like, no! This reminds me of the huge spirit that killed my dad! Okay. But then Nue shows up and just, like, dissipates the spirit. Just like, no, go away. It's gone. And Yajima's like, oh, okay. And she's like, hey, are you okay? Wait, this woman's a spirit, and she's even worse than the one that killed my dad!
My dad!
I don't know, I think that we might have to read this series, Gwyneth. I'm kind of attached to this voice now.
Daddy!
Dad! So Nue says, hey, I've been waiting for you a long time. This is the first time in 60 years that a human has actually managed to get to this room. And Yajima realizes, like, wait a minute, I was trying to get to the roof. Why am I here?
This isn't the roof. I didn't ask for a room with a sexy lady. I wanted the roof.
Oh no, and even worse than being a strong and sexy lady, she's good at video games! Which is a detail that I'm very confused by, because she's been stuck in here for 60 years. Where are the video games coming from? Why does she like playing video games?
They put lore in here to explain, like, oh, there must be a reason, because she knows about, like, she has, like, the latest manga and video games. So, like, it must be a plot point that she has a way to obtain these things. But it is very silly.
She must have that famous internet connection that was available 60 years ago so that she could do online shopping.
She's been whooping my ass on the ladder for years.
So
she always plays zoners, that bitch.
No, not the infinite break combo.
Stop corner locking me. God damn it! I don't know how to wave dash!
So after they've established that Nue is good at video games, she says, like, hey, you know, I'm glad that you were willing to actually, like, hear me out and keep me company and stuff. You know, apparently were able to shake off your fear of me and everything. And he's just like, oh, I feel like you would have been really lonely and stuff. And so Nue's like, "Oh, you're a good person," and she literally applauds for him being a good boy.
Aww.
This is very demeaning. So, she explains, like, yeah, I've been sealed here at the school, and the cause of it is that there's all these. That's because of that. There's all these spirits hanging around and stuff, and they start to amalgamate together, and that can be very dangerous when they gather up and pile on each other. When that happens, spirits can kill humans. Maybe you've seen that before.
My dad! Dad! No, I remember you died!
So Nue says, like, hey, listen, I can lend you my power, and if I do that, you can defeat those dangerous spirits. And he's like, no! My dad was killed by spirits! I can't do that!
And he pees himself and runs away.
No. Someone else pees themselves, Quinn. That's very important. Don't mix them up. Zeno, meanwhile, tries to stand up for Yajima and be like, you guys were being dicks. And they beat him up and strip him down to his underwear. And that is how he remains for the entire second half of the chapter, just in his tiny whities.
We need to... All right, we'll get to it.
Well, yeah, so this all happens. Evil spirits gather around because the bullies are being bullies, and negative energy is circulating around, and Yajima's like, no, stop it! You'll all die like my dad if you keep this up! And yep, the spirits come around, and Nue's like, "Oh shit, it's happening really fast." And as one of the bullies is gonna beat up Yajima, a spirit shows up, manifests, blows up the room, and rips his arm off. And they're like a weird ninja thing in appearance, and so everyone's like, "Oh
Sexy
my
ninja.
god,
Sexy ninja."
yeah, sexy big boob ninja!" But also, there's too many eyes in that face, so there's bandages covering it.
Well, I want her to step on me and look me with all those eyes, Nick.
Would not be a problem for many people. I understand. Okay. Yes. Arm ripped off bully turns to the other two bullies and is like, "Guys, kill it!" And one of the other bullies is like, "No," and he looks at him.
No, dog. I'm just gonna piss myself.
He does it very calmly. He's like, "Oh, no," and the spirit looks at him and he's like,
gotta go.
He screams and runs. It's just like such a weird way. Like, you would never suspect he had peed his pants if literally the sound effect piss didn't come out of
I want to like isolate that panel and just insert it into chapters of like just randomly different series. Just every so often you cut this guy, he's like, little sound effect, piss.
Bully tries to run away. The sexy big boobs ninja many eye spirit thing goes to kill him, and Yajima goes, "No, that guy's gonna die like my dad."
Just like dad.
So he's frozen in fear. He can't act. Instead, Zeno, tiny whitey Zeno, comes leaping in and pushes him out of the way from being cut up by big boobs ninja eyes spirits, and says, "No, I'll stop it. You guys run away. I'll be the decoy with my tiny whiteys and this chair." And Yajima's like, "Well, why, Zeno?" And Zeno says, "Because I made up my mind."
Zeno is the coolest character in this manga. Why is this manga not about Zeno?
Yeah, he's been beaten up by a bunch of bullies and stripped down to his underwear, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll fight that unstoppable spirit to save your lives."
I'll fight this bitch. I'm gonna fucking go fucking wild on this bitch.
Gets punched and immediately starts coughing up blood. And Yajima's like, "Oh, I remember when my dad died. I don't want to see anyone die. That's why I've always been peaceful and gentle and stuff, so that no one would get hurt. But then, oh wait, what did my dad say? Oh right." And he's like, "Oh, I protected you. I'm pretty strong, right? Oh no, if you're not strong, you don't get to make choices. But Zeno and my dad are strong, and that's why they made choices."
I forgot my dad was Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, you gotta get strong. You gotta put your fists up. You gotta punch him. I don't care.
Oh, Dad, you're being really unclear. Can you like clear your throat and then reiterate what you just said?
Yeah, it depends on my pancreas is. Good luck, buddy.
Did you say pancakes?
Pancreas. Why would
Everybody's like, "Yeah, my pancakes on the table fell over. I've nothing left to live for. Goodbye, son," or whatever.
So Yajima realizes he's just been running away from confrontation his whole life, but now he's like, "I want to choose the path where neither I nor others get hurt," and he stands in the way of the big boob ninja spirit many eye lady and takes the hit. And goes, no, I'm coughing up blood. Sorry, Zeno, I couldn't do anything, but I wanted to be strong and find a way to save everyone. And as the spirit moves in to kill them, Nue gets in the way, blocks its like cutty shawls or whatever you want to call them, and says, "All right, then I can train you up." There's an explanation for how she's able to manifest here, which is she attached part of herself to him, so now she can at least manifest outside the room. So she says, "I can't do very much right now, but what I can do is either give you to guaranteed safety or grant you power. So make your choice." And Yajima's like, "I want power! I want power so my dad doesn't die!" Oh, wait. Oh.
I'm already dead. I'm dead, son. He's fucking got word food.
So he introduces himself as Gakuro Yajima to her, and Nue says, "All right, then. Things are going to get tough from here on out, so give it your best. And in return, I promise this. I shall raise you to be the strongest warrior, capable of saving everyone. Now you have a Zanpakuto. Go fight." So he has swords and black flamey bits coming off of different parts of his body, and he can block the ninja lady spirit big boobs attacks. And then when he goes for his sword, he's actually really strong, and he swipes it once and cuts the ninja big boob spirit midi eye thing in half. And it was like, what talent! Totally worth the wait. And Zeno, who's still in his underwear, is like, Yajima, you were amazing! And Yajima's like, I feel like I shouldered some kind of incredible responsibility, but this time I wasn't shaking at all. And that's our introduction to this new news Exorcist series.
Nick, you seem super excited about it.
Sure is an Exorcist series.
It is. I will say I did like it. It's a weird thing in that I did leave the chapter more enamored with Zeno than the main character. I was like, yeah, Zeno's super cool. This dude just kind of like a little bit of a nerd. So it's a little strange there, but I thought it's fine. I don't think it has anything particularly special to it, but like I was like, okay, I can get on board with reading, I think, 2 more chapters of this before I had to make my decision.
Yeah, it's very much like it didn't really do anything for me to either be like invested or to set me off of reading it. Yes. It's just kind of like, yep, that's about what I expected. So
all right, Nick, let's talk about Tenmaku Cinema Chapter 5, where it finally happens.
Chapter 5, on her beach, which sounds kind of like weird. So it's still continuing like location scouting, but this time Hajime has gone out with Karaku, and so they're going out and they're trying to find a proper like actual beach location, because of course that's the big climactic scene of the movie, and so Karai is like pointing her finger and being really loud about it. It's like, this place is great, we should use this place, and Hajime is like, you're a famous actress, you're gonna draw attention to yourself. And she's like, it's okay, I'm wearing a disguise. She's just wearing a ball cap and sunglasses, that's it.
That's the best disguise you can have though, Nick.
Yep. Tenmaku has brought a beach umbrella because he's gotten car sickness, which ghosts can get, I guess. And Hajime rightfully points out, like, where the hell did that beach umbrella come from? And he just says, apparently I can just make one. So, all right, good to know. They keep on, like trying to do scouting locations. Hajime asks Karai if she's going to be able to actually, do all this stuff while she's got her own schedule to work on. But she's like, hey, look, for this last scene, we need a quiet spot on the beach where the tourists won't wander into the shot. Hajime says that he wants to stop by City Hall because they need to figure out what kind of rules they need to follow for different shooting locations they want to get. There's a lot. They basically go over a lot of the really, really, the things that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to shooting a movie, which is like rights, equipment, all that stuff. And then we go on for a little bit about, what they're going to shoot it on. A cell phone. They're going to shoot it on a cell phone with like a steady arm thing attached to it, which Tenmaku, of course, is completely unfamiliar with, because he's like, don't you need like a big camera with film and stuff? It's like, no, it's all digital and stuff these days. And you're able to just like, if you want to edit stuff, there's apps you can get for really cheap too. So that's what we're going to use to make it, because we have no budget. So there we go. They go back into like the town for a bit. They're shooting stuff in an alley, and Hajime is like checking out all sorts of weird different positions. He's like getting fully on the ground and shooting at stuff. And he's like, okay, why don't you try like standing over here and doing this? And then also he just kind of starts shooting like random stuff that's on the side of the road. Like, hey, there's a cat that's sitting here having a big yawn. Look at that good
cat.
boy.
I want to see this movie now.
So Hajime is just kind of establishes like, while we're out here doing shooting location scouting stuff, I'm also trying to get B-roll footage so that we have more stuff to cut to.
I do like this. I think this is like if. I mean, it's not mind blowing to me, like, oh my god, B-roll, but like this does feel like an important thing for people to like who are new to movie making process. To be like, oh right, I don't think about those shots that frequently.
Yeah, it's a nice detail to include. Hajime and Karai take a bit of a break. They have a drink together, and he's like, oh, come to think of it, I'm like out at the beach with a girl, and I've never done that before. And I also was like, it's Karai. She's famous, pretty movie star and stuff. And Karai, there is honestly kind of a nice little joke where she's like, she finished taking a drink, and she's like, "Hey, you want some Shinichi?" And he's like, "Ah! Yeah, I'll go buy you one." Just completely like,
No, wait, Nick, we don't have to have two character be like, an indirect kiss.
Well, he starts to do that, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna buy you one." Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. But he still acknowledges like this is kind of just crazy that I'm going out doing this with a freaking famous actress. They then rush off to an isolated portion of the beach. There's just this very, very pretty looking shot of freaking water. Just in case you forgot that Shinseki is a good artist.
Uh-huh.
And then she says, "Hey, there's something that I really want to do." And in scene 5, there's this bit where they set off fireworks in the schoolyard. So I want to set off fireworks here. So let me go find a convenience store. And then she immediately runs like into a sign that says "No fireworks."
An enormous sign. I've never seen a sign this large before in my life. Like signs that are about your like, watch out, sharks in the water wouldn't even be this large. This thing's huge. It is a very funny scene.
So she's really kind of bummed out for a second because she's like, I just wanted to do the things that Nagisa would do in this kind of location because I don't feel like I've really grasped her character, and so now I can't do this in order to figure that out. So Hajime tries to encourage, say like, "Oh hey, you were having a freaking conversation with Nagisa before. I'm sure that you've gotten it." And she's like, "Well, okay, if we can't do the fireworks, I want to go practice a different scene. So wait for me here." So Hajime is like, "Okay, yeah." They reflect on how hard she works, and Karai comes back. "Oh my gosh, she's wearing a bikini!" Oh!
I know, Nick. Everyone's been like, "When was it gonna get a little horny?" And Shinseki said, 5 chapters, bitch. I gave you 4 chapters. I gave you 4 chapters. Nothing. I need something now. Me. This is for me. That'd be weird if you said that. Like, you can draw whatever you want on your spare time. We can't stop you.
Hajime gets all flustered, and then Tenmaku says what might be something even weirder than if you were just horny over it, which is, No, Hajime, be quiet. Yeah. Himeki is about to go into battle." It's like, what the fuck?
Then she just, like, the next shot, she has, like, a full katana, and she's fighting a monster. Like, oh, Nick. It's an Exorcist series. Yeah. All of them are Exorcist series. You just wait long enough.
I mean, that is the one shot, I guess, that Shinseki and Sakuta ran last time. Yeah. So this was a bit of an odd way to cap things off, but I mean, hey, whatever. They're going to do stuff on the beach. Sure, fine.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about Mashle, Nick. Magic and Muscles, Chapter 155, Mash Burned Dead, and the Mage Who Became a God. So last time, Innocent Zero has evolved. He is now this terrifying angel figure, and everyone's like, wow, he's so majestic now, like a god. Innocent Zero's like, yes, I have surpassed the human form and become a new deity. I am the epitome of all magic. I preside over heaven and earth. I create from nothing. I control the flow of life. You all are worms beneath me, but you have the glory to witness my awesomeness. And people just start bowing to him. He gives this whole big speech, and Mash, there's just a silent beat as Mash is staring at him. He's like, could you not use so many big words? Innocent Zero has no more time for these shenanigans. He does a big spell called Darkness Disaster. And Mash is about to be attacked by one of these things, so he prepares a finger flick, and he flicks it away. And like, wow, that's an absurd amount of power. But Innocent Zero is like, I'm just going to send a whole bunch of them at you. Mash, like, jumps to, or he flicks the ground, rather, to, like, shoot himself upwards to avoid it. And then he hides. He literally just attaches himself to a rock. So Innocent Zero's like, where did he go? And Mash uses that time to get in real close. Looks like he's going to try to flick him to death. But boom, big clock spell. We just see in slow motion as he points his wand at Mash. He's like, I have dominion over time. You possess no magic at all. That truth should be all you need to know. Darkness! And shoots a whole blast out, and Mash just says, not yet, as everything kind of turns to white. And we just close on Innocent Zero saying, it is over, and this huge beam being fired.
Yeah. So it's a little bit weird to see Mash doing a ridiculous, super muscle technique and be like, that's a Deku thing. So it's really weird to see like one of Mash's really weird things be like, I've seen this in a shonen battle manga before.
not long ago, actually.
Yeah. It's very much just kind of seems like a setup, like, oh, things are really bad, and then fairly soon it's like, no, they're not. Mash is super strong. It'll be fine. So there's not a whole lot really to talk about, I don't think.
Yes. So. All right, Nick, let's wrap up. Elusive Samurai in One Piece.
Yep. Elusive Samurai, Chapter 109, Successor 1335. Hey, so everyone managed to get away with Yorishige. But they're like, but he's still going to die. Like, all right. Kojiro's master guy from the one general guy that told him, wear this and pretend to be my son, is like, good, give me that headband. You don't need to pretend to be my son anymore. You've done a good job. Go serve your master and live your life how you want. Good job. Okay, well, that's all over and done with. Ayako and Kojiro and Ginba are like, wow, so this is it. This is Yorishige is, gonna die, so we're gonna have to, say farewell to him. We're used to people dying, but this is gonna be really, really hard, and this is, we're all gonna really suffer for this. There is a massive party going on between the multiple dying people and Tokiyuki and Shizuku. Because Yorishige is just like, yeah, I'm going to use all my divine powers like I can to just have a good time. Yeah. Woo! And they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to die. His son is like, thus far, I have survived my fatal wound because divine power provides a physical boost. Okay. So he says, Tokitsugu says to Tokiyuki, like, say goodbye to Yoritsugu for me. I am proud of his immense talent. And he turns to Yorishige and says, Father, I sleep before you. And Yorishige says, yeah, I'm sorry that I have, kind of been neglecting you recently. He's like, hey, now that I'm dying, I'll tell you that I used my fated presence to sneak into your bed until I was about 12. And Yorishige's like, well, we're going to be sleeping side by side again because we're going to die now.
Aw, that's a little sweet.
Yeah. And then he just kind of tips over and he just totally disappears because his presence, he's dead now. And this is funny because he's not visible.
Uh-huh.
And they make a joke of it because they put a sheet on him. It's like, oh no, he's still here. Look at him. He's invisible because he's dead. Okay, so Tokiyuki confides in Yorishige that, it's like, look, Takauji is so strong, how do I defeat him? And Yorishige says, it's okay, I'll give you some weapons. First, I give Shizuku my ability to see the future. It does. And this is also a joke, because Shizuku says, I see an infinite hell that goes on forever. With peripherals and mini purchases, and just talks about modern gaming and why it sucks.
Yep. Well, actually, Nick, she's secretly talking about the K-Manga app. There's all these, yeah. She's seeing the dark future.
Then he gives Tokiyuki a sword, which he says, like, Tamatoki gave me this to me when Kamakura fell. You used it against Godane. It is the hereditary treasure sword of the Hojo, Onimaru. You have all this grace in you because of your ancestors. This will be your companion for demon slaying. Use whatever weapons or means necessary to draw out Takauji's emotional turmoil. When Takauji exhibits commonplace weakness, his divine power shall flee from him, pull him down so he is merely human. Then Ayako and Kojiro and Genba are like, do you actually have to die? Because we don't want that. And he's like, no, I gotta die. But Tokiyuki says, I will not run from your death. You sacrifice yourself to save others. You show your love as a warrior and father. I will not flee from such affection because I am your lord and I am your son. And they all have a big cry together. Yorishige thinks about how like they have grown up to be a capable leader and capable warriors and stuff. And then he is told that they get word from outside that Takauji's army is approaching. So Yorishige says, all right, you know the escape routes. I'm sorry, you've got to fly from the nest. Tell me again what I long to hear. And Tokiyuki embraces him, and they have a big hug while he says, thank you for all you've done, father. And that's the end of the chapter. It's a big emotional beat that would probably have been a lot more impactful if we didn't have so many jokey jokes about people dying in the same chapter.
It's a little tone bouncy all over the place, but I thought it was still good. I think if you were going to ask me like what's been my favorite Elusive Samurai chapter in like 40 chapters, I'd be like, I think it's this one. Like, I don't know, there's something here. So that's nice. But
it does at least feel like something meaningful happened. So,
but now, Nick, One Piece, and thankfully, it's such an easy chapter of One Piece to recap.
Oh my God, chapter 1083, the truth of that day. So it turns out that me joking last time that Sabo would, explain what happened that fateful day was actually wishful thinking because Jesus Christ, we just get that now, and I don't know so much of the relevance of what happens here. I'm gonna need to start going on YouTube and watching videos explaining what the fuck happens in order to be able to explain this on our show. Jesus. So Sabo explains so I managed to complete all my objectives, and broadly speaking, I had 3, and it feels like he's talking to the 2 people that should know what those objectives are. But whatever.
He's doing a very formal rundown. He's like, look, I had 3 objectives. Let me tell you how I did it.
Yes. So he says that first of all, he wanted to destroy the symbol of the celestial dragons in order to make a declaration of war. Second was to free as many slaves as I possibly could and take back Kuma. And third, to venture into the land of the gods and destroy their food stockpile. Apparently, this mission went pretty well. Because of the declaration of war, the rebellion's influence has spread. A bunch of people have taken up arms. There were 8 successful revolutions in a dozen different countries. And also, Ivankov says out of those 8 countries, one was Luluzia, which is gone now. So 7 out of 11, I guess we'll call it, not 8 out of 12. But of those 7 countries under new leadership, the papers aren't mentioning any of them, but they've also cut off all heavenly tribute to the government. So yeah, Marijoa has lost a lot of their supply lines. They may have a impenetrable fortress, but they're having a lot of difficulty getting food now. So Ivankov is really, really happy about this and starts dancing around fuck you, rich people. Dragon says that because they're under duress, they might mobilize the Holy Knights.
All right,
and
Nick.
That is where the real fighting will begin.
Now, Nick, that's where Jin has to be. He can't be anywhere else. They revealed the 10th captain of Blackbeard's crew. We've seen Shanks' crew in action. There's nowhere left. We know who Ryogoku is now. All of my weird hopes. So Jin, for some reason, it'll be explained, Jin joined the Holy Knights.
Okay. For a second, I thought you were going to say that's where the pissing bully has got to be.
Now, to my knowledge, this is a group that has never been formally announced before. I think this is just an announcement of here are some new characters. At some point, I assume the Straw Hats are going to have to deal with the Navy themselves, and while Luffy fighting Akinu makes a ton of sense. Mm-hmm. And then maybe other of the big members fighting the other admirals. It makes sense to have many mini peons for other characters to fight or something. I don't know.
Yes.
It was me looking at it being oh my god, are there 10 more characters that I have to learn? Fuck me.
Oh boy. There are at least 9 from the silhouettes we can see, it seems like. So Ivankov points out that the Holy Knights will probably be gunning for Sabo specifically. Dragon says that because of the assassination of King Cobra, Sabo now is a hero in many people's eyes. From the perspective of the rebellious, anyone affiliated with the world government is an enemy. Of course, there are many wicked kings who oppress their people, but there are also wise and just kings who are capable rulers, which seems like a weird thing for the leader of the rebellion to say. Not much of an anarchist, are you, Dragon?
He's like, whoa, not all kings. Hashtag not all kings, guys.
Yeah. But, you know, he points out, like, look, Cobra had a reputation for being a wise and just ruler, but sometimes that news doesn't reach everyone the world over. But so I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about King Cobra personally, but honestly, this suits our means very well. This will get the flames of revolution burning. And they have a drink, and then they're like, now, tell us the truth behind this article. And it shows, you know, Sabo standing over the corpse of Cobra with the headline, King Cobra assassinated. And they're like, yeah, we were searching for a reason for you to do this. We all want to believe in you. And so we get a flashback to over a month earlier in Marijoa. And so it's during the reverie. The food storage has exploded and revolutionary captains have been sighted. Oh my God, mayhem has run amok. And they're like, oh, we got to stop them. Kill them all. Brownbeard? Is that who that is?
No, this is just some random ass dude.
He's got a captain hat thing.
Yeah,
he's got a tricorner.
They imprison captain, like pirates, a lot and sell them off. But I don't think this is anyone specific.
So
remember, Brownbeard has the lower body of like a crocodile.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, maybe you got rid of it, Quinn. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you very well could have.
So this older looking pirate guy is not doing so well. He's being whipped up by one of the world nobles. When
Nick, don't you remember the revolutionary leader of the North Army, Karasu? Nick, next you're going to tell me you don't remember the leader of the West Army, Limburg, or South. I don't remember which fucking direction there are, but...
Karasu comes in, he summons a crow with his soot powers, just roll with it, and the bird says to the pirate guy, like, run away, and so they try and shoot Karasu, but he's a soot man, so he's fine, and he just beats them all up. And then we's like, oh, look, it's Limburg is here. Oh, and hey, look, it's an important character.
I will say, Karasu is the only one of this group who actually I kind of like because his design's kind of dope. Everyone after him is less and less interesting.
Yeah. Look, it's Morley.
He's big. He big. Or she
big.
I should say.
They're big.
They are big, yep.
They're big. So, they're fighting a big tree guy.
Ryugoku!
No, is it? Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. It's hard to recognize them in the actual big woodman form. So Fujitora is like, I'm summoning a meteor. They're like, don't do that. There's a bunch of people around us. And it's like, oh. A big fight has broken out. Meanwhile, Sabo is sneaking around looking for the collar key. I don't know if we know what that is. But Kuma has been moving.
Fuck. Oh my god. Kuma, isn't it? It's the collar key.
Oh, okay. But Kuma is hanging around with Charlos, that asshole. I remember that guy. And his father, St. Roswald. And they're like trying to get up to no good. So they're like, oh, I bet he's going to do something with Princess Shirahoshi. We can't let him use Kuma like that. And we actually cut to, this is the point where like Shirahoshi and Vivi and the others were all kind of like having their like bonding moment together. And meanwhile, also Bonnie was there, was running around trying to find her dad. And Vivi has been called aside by Lucci, who's like, leave me alone.
Now, Nick, I do notice that you seem to have cut over a reintroduction to, of course, Fukuru, Kumadori, Jayabura, Bluto, and Khalifa, the other members of Cipher Pole 9 who reappear in a panel to address that they are here as well.
Do we? Does that happen?
Yeah, and the page before, it's when Morley gets their big introduction. On the other side of the page is 3 panels, the third one down.
Oh, sorry.
It's like you don't even care, Nick. Kumadori is back!
That's the only one that I even vaguely remember. So.
Yeah, if it had just been...
Wait, no. One of them had a door power. That's the horn guy.
Blue note, yep.
And the girl had a sexy power, because of course she did.
Soap power, yep.
Right.
And then one other one had a double fruit.
Yes, they did.
And then the last guy had a zipper for a mouth. Yep, you nailed it all. Okay, no. No. Mr. P is just trying to jump up on me again. He's going to make a mess of everything.
God.
Okay, go ahead.
So Vivi and Lucci are meanwhile talking, and Vivi's like, "Leave me alone! I'm trying to talk to Vice Admiral Garp." And Lucci's like, "We're here to protect you." And she says, "I mean, it didn't look that way with Shirahoshi back there. You're not stupid. You know they'll go after her again." But Vivi, I believe, is being told that by other people. I think it's kind of hard. No, it's a different hallway. I don't know who's trying to talk to Cobra. I don't think in this.
Guards are trying to talk to him. They're like, "Hey, you can't come in here. Only King Cobra is. So Cobra's going to go in.
Can go in with the elders. He's going to go in by themselves.
Yeah, Shaka and Pell aren't going to be with him.
Yeah. So
just in case you were worried that Shaka and Pell were in danger, they're too strong. They'll survive. Right. Shaka took a bomb to the face.
Right. So Cobra specifically tells them, like, "Hey, don't bother waiting around for me. Go protect my daughter." So that's where we leave off there. And if we actually continue with this, right, I guess we'll actually find out what the hell happened with King Cobra.
Yeah, it seems like we are actually going to get some level of an answer about what's going to happen. Which is wild, Nick. Who would have thought? You and me learning about One Piece's big lore questions? It's going to be wild.
I was just cutting to a different scene.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happened with Pell. Because, of course, as you recall, Nick, he had the Hawk Fruit, which is one of, I believe, they established 7 powers that allow you to fly, which is a thing that Oda
didn't last very long.
Oda definitely established. And I was like, oops, more birds than that. and other things that can make you fly.
Yeah. I think that we've reached the end now. So, Quentin, tell me, what was your favorite chapter this week?
My favorite chapter this week was between Blue Box and Akane-banashi. I think I'm going to go with Akane-banashi. It's weird because I don't think the chapter as a whole is as strong. I think Blue Box is probably stronger, but that moment with her having an imaginary conversation with that was very, very emotional in a way that, like, was heavy for me. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I love that. So I think that's what's going to win it out for me.
I think that I'm going to take something off of that and say, like it ends on a weird note, but because of that, I do think that I liked Blue Box's chapter just overall a little bit better. And in terms of my my MVP for this week, I think that I'm going to go with God, it's kind of hard to do it for this. In a weird way, I'm going to give mine to Shinta from Akane-banashi, because even though he doesn't actually do anything in this chapter, just the way that everything is centered around him and how Akane is learning about her dad indirectly is very interesting.
Oh, I like that. That's a very outside the box pick, but I really, really like that. I don't want to steal it though, because that would be a poser move. I'm going to give mine to Karasu, cool crow dude. He has cool crow powers. This is a tough one this week. Nobody really stood out individually. I considered Phil, but I think Karasu's going to get it, just so I have somebody. But we did have some cool stuff this week.
Absolutely.
The audience, by the way, doubled up Akane-banashi for chapter of the week and Akane for character of the week.
Yeah. All right, guys, that has got to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. We'll see you next time for more manga discussion stuff. Tune in on weekly manga recaps, twitch.tv, which is twitch.tv/RoloT. We will record the show Wednesday evening, probably starting around 7:30 Eastern time. And if you want to know exactly when it goes live, you can join us on Discord, which will be linked wherever this podcast gets posted in the description. We also have a great community there that participates in all sorts of just like fun, like game times, discussions about the series as each chapter comes out. You can use it to also go to the Google Doc that's maintained by Ninja X3i and make a suggestion for future manga for us to read, or check out some of the past stuff that we've done and just stuff that we've talked about. There's a lot of statistics and history that is referenced in that document. We also want to thank everyone who has supported us on Patreon, patreon.com/weekly manga recap, where you can also just get bonus stuff that we have recorded. We also want to thank Milo Jack Stillis and Wednesday Del Cheddar, who created the opening sequence of the video version of the podcast, which you can check out on youtube.com/weekly manga recap. Also, we sometimes get title cards done by Steve Man, whose work you can check out anywhere boobs are allowed to be drawn on the internet if you just search for Steve Man Art. That is his username, I think, basically everywhere that he posts stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so guys, thank you all for the good times, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, we've done all we can. We'll see you next time, guys. Dick, you need a joke here. Tell a joke.
So this is the part where we have the piss guy come in. It's
what?
The pee pants guy. Come on, Quinn.
I thought someone was just gonna come in and piss on me, and I was like, Nick, I need a head. I would not have worn my nice Sonic shirt if someone was gonna piss all over it. Okay.
That's the main problem. Yes.
Actually, yeah, I will tell this story. The way my house is, so like the main living area is above the basement, which is where frequently people will hang out. And we were playing video games, and I was like, "Oh, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Go upstairs." And Joa comes upstairs and is like, "Hey, a liquid just dripped from the ceiling onto my head." And I was like, like anyone who owns a home, immediately like terror fills you, like, "Oh my god, did a pipe burst?" Something like that. And then I walked out. And
yeah,
I was like,
absolutely.
So the good news is the pipe didn't burst. The bad news is Scotia peed herself, and pee just dribbled from the basement to your head. There you go. You stayed all the way. You got to...
It's Scotia with the trick shot.
It's Scotia with the very funny placement of it. Not at the time. I was so mortified. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Everyone's like, "No, it's fine. It's a dog." But it was like, you did just get...
God damn.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.